Okay, good morning, everybody. How are we doing? So this is a little just summary view for the final exam. I've given you a video on the instructions for the exam, which I recommend you watch again. And in this video, we're going to focus in on exactly what I'm asking for these two questions. The first question dealing with Aristotle's concept of friendship in the Nicomachean Ethics, books 8 and 9, right? And then the second question dealing with Orwell's 1984. All right. So let me just give a reminder about instructions. Really important to answer the questions as directly as possible, number one. Number two, stay as close to the text as possible. When you make a claim about what's in the text or an interpretation of it, you really want to make that claim as close to what the language of the text is. Right, to really root your opinion in what the text actually says, and not hover, as you say, kind of 40,000 feet above it. Okay, and then lastly, in supporting the claims you make in your answers, you need to cite the text. Really crucial that you cite the text. Okay, so let's be clear. Nicomachean Ethics. The topic of friendship occurs primarily in books 8 and 9. The last part of this question deals with the question of the relationship between friendship and happiness. And of course, the topic of happiness is largely answered by Aristotle in books 1 and 10. And he sets up the definition of happiness for the in book 1, but he doesn't really resolve every last dimension of the nature of happiness until book 10. Okay, so Aristotle has this concept based on his observations of human relationships called philia, and the word philia is translated as friendship. And as you wade into book 9, you notice that he starts out having a very broad conception of what human friendship is. And really, it seems to be a little bit more like what we would call a human relationship, right? Rather than an intimate, true friendship. So at first, I'm asking you just a general idea of what Aristotle has in mind when he's talking about friendship or philia. What does he mean by it, number one? And what are some examples of this relationship that he provides? So in terms of what is it, in the videos, I make clear that there's a series of dimensions that really are key elements of any type of human relationship, right? And he makes remarks about it that before he ever talks about the three forms of friendship, right? Then what are the preconditions of any form of friendship? Now this is when Aristotle talks about these preconditions, he doesn't say, and now I'm going to discuss the preconditions of any form of friendship or any human relationship. Nonetheless, he lists a whole bunch of things in the course of speaking in a rather unsystematic way, which is no benefit for us, but things that are necessary for friendships to even occur regardless of what kind they are, however deep or superficial they may be. And these elements are referenced in the videos, they're referenced in the PowerPoints. So all that information that I've provided you is there for your benefit to allow you to excel on the exam. So then C, what are the three forms of friendship, right? Explain them. And this is really the meat and potatoes of question number 1 here. Important that when you talk about these three forms, you need to address issues concerning the object of exchange, whether the friend is treated as a means or an end, a true friend or not, the degree of completeness or incompleteness, the matter of duration or time, issues of equality and inequality, like and unlike, and so forth. And so one thing I provided you was a very nice grid, kind of ticking off all these issues in the three forms. Then the remainder of the question, what does it mean that a true friend is treated as an end in themselves, whereas something less than a true friend is treated as a means? So this really has to do with the question, number one, of what is the difference between a means on the one hand and an end on the other? And then what does it mean for a human being to be treated as a means? And what does it mean for a human being to be treated as an end in themselves or for their own sake? Lastly, last two parts, what makes complete friendship complete? We know it's called complete, but why is it considered complete? And remember, so this idea of complete is really important for Aristotle, right? The nature of a thing really isn't what it is until it's complete, until it has all the proper component parts that are consistent with its full nature, right? We've talked about the polis as a political community being the complete community because it provides something that the other communities don't. Well, here, complete friendship provides something that the other lower forms of friendship don't. And of course, the idea of complete suggests that there's a hierarchy of these friendships with complete at the top, right? So and lastly, what is the relationship between friendship and happiness? So here, you're going to need to provide a very quick definition of Aristotle's conception of happiness, and then how you think friendship contributes to happiness. Now, he doesn't completely spell this out, and it's interesting that clearly the relationship between friendship and happiness is really actually a quite dominant theme in the ethics. Ethics is the science of human character, or the practice of human character, the pursuit of happiness, we might even say. And friendship takes up a considerable chunk of Aristotle's time and space in the Ethics, a book on the pursuit of human happiness. Clearly, friendship is instrumental to our pursuit of happiness. And the question is exactly what is the relationship? Because he's not perfectly clear. And there's a lot of areas that you could probe here. Okay. Okay, so for Orwell's 1984, there are some elements to this question that come from lecture materials that I've provided on Blackboard, and we'll discuss in class. So first, what does it mean for a political regime to be totalitarian, right? Now, the definition of this term is something that comes from the materials that I've provided, which is to say, the text does not provide a definition of totalitarianism or totalitarian regime. It, rather than providing a definition, it illustrates what a totalitarian regime looks like. So certainly once you have the definition of this word, you can see very quickly how the world, how the regime, the political regime described in 1984 is an example of a totalitarian regime. In its simplest definition, so I give you a little bit here, a totalitarian regime is one that exercises total or near total control over all aspects of its citizens' lives. Describe some of the techniques used to control citizens in the world of 1984. So, Orwell writes a novel in which there are two main characters, and this Winston Smith character is really the focus. And, I mean, we tend to think of the novel as being about, a character confronting a situation and how they handle it, a conflict, and whatever desires at work that motivate them. And this book seems really concerned to make the regime itself a character, and of course its manifest, its kind of emblem, its avatar is this Big Brother, the image of Big Brother, who he's literally the face of the regime, right? So much of the text of Winston, revealing his life and living his life, is manifest in illustrating the various techniques in this totalitarian society used to control people. And there are many, right? There's some big major ones, and then there's some more subtle ones that come up. So you have a lot to choose from there throughout the text. As we've seen in the symposium, one of the basic strategies of tyranny and totalitarianism is divide and conquer the people in their relationships to themselves and to one another. Explain how this strategy works and how it is manifest in 1984. So number one, how does the strategy of divide and conquer work? Which, what I'm asking is, how is it that when you divide people, you're able to conquer them? And then the second part of it is, how does this issue or theme of divide and conquer, how does it manifest in 1984? And again, there's more than one example to choose from. D, a major form of control is through language and ideas, which regulate not only what people say and think, but also what and how they think about the world, themselves, and other relationships. So this is just a kind of preface to the question. So newspeak, which is the emerging language, the promoted language within the world of 1984, exemplifies a strategy by which controlling people's speech controls them. So what is newspeak and how is it used as a form of speech and thought control and to divide and conquer people? What is doublethink? Doublethink is an instrumental part of newspeak, and how is it part of this strategy? What is the consequence of newspeak on the individual psychology of the inhabitants of this world and its impact on their relationships with one another? So, giving not too much away here, one of the major forms of control in this world is through language and the control of language. So newspeak is explicitly discussed in this text and given a kind of full-throated analysis at many moments. But if you look at the appendix, Orwell actually writes this little appendix explaining the concept of newspeak and provides many of the vital insights into this thing, this way of speaking and thinking there. But it should be said that you will also find throughout the text, throughout the narrative itself, important insights into the phenomena of newspeak that are really crucial. Okay, so I think with that I shall sign off, and I wish everybody very good luck. Thank you.